So welcome to another RiderCamTV video, and today we are in sunny Falmouth and Penryn. Just been to BMW, or Ocean BMW, down at Penryn, who have very kindly let us take out the BMW CE04 Electric Scooter. I like to think of it as an electric bike. Now, this thing apparently is almost or comparable to a 400cc motorbike, and the power is there. It's just unreal. And I'll tell you what's really strange about these bikes is not being able to hear anything when you're going. So this bike apparently is about 400cc in comparison to a conventional engine or combustion engine. It's silent, apart from a little bit of a whir that you can hear. The screen is amazing, and the screen is very much like the new RT screens. Big, bold, really easy to read. It's got everything in front of you. It's got all the connected services, but we'll get onto that a little bit later. The style of this thing, it's so futuristic, it's unreal. And I'm not sure what I think of the looks, to be honest. It's very, very striking, but I'm not sure if those looks are something that I would go for. I mean, I think it looks really funky. Looks like it's come out of a science fiction film as opposed to everyday life. Or has everyday life caught up with science fiction? I don't know. Anyway, enough about me talking about science fiction. This bike, what's it like to sit on? Well, the seat is really comfortable. It's like a really spongy seat. And we all like our buttocks cupped, and it cups my buttocks and makes me feel really comfortable sat here. So that's really lovely. My arms are just in the right place. I have to go around this bus. My arms are in just the right place, not too wide apart, not too close together, really comfortable positioning. And my legs, I can have my legs in two different places, so I can have them as a conventional scooter or conventional bike, like 90 degrees down to the footboards, or I can have them out in front of me like a cruising bike. Now I've tended to ride with them kind of in the middle, and I'm not sure what's more comfortable for me, but I know that each position is comfortable, but I guess you find your own position when you're sat on it. Anyway, switchgear. Switchgear is all exactly the same as BMW's other bikes. So if you think about the GS, the GSA, the 1000RR, everything in their range has got the same sort of, well, exactly the same switchgear actually, the black stuff. It's got the twisty nav knob, which allows you to move everything around on the screen and select different options. So there's nothing really to write home about. We know they're good switches. We know that they are really reliable. It's got the SOS function, which is really good. And I know Mark has used the SOS function in Norway when he came off the bike and rode into a gorge or a gully, and suddenly this person was saying, hello BMW, are you okay? So we know that that works really, really well. In terms of the mirrors I think are exactly the same as the GSA, same as mine, same as the GS, same as the XRs, that sort of thing. So what they've done is they've very much used or reused or repurposed stuff from other bikes that people are well known to use. So on the right hand side you've got heated grips and heated seat, I think. Let's have a look. Yep, heated grips and heated seats. A mode button, so you get eco, rain, road and dynamic. Your stop start button. Your on the left hand side you've got your hazards, your automatic lights, your flash lights, your menu button for the screen, indicators and horn. And interestingly, you have also got this R button with a star. So the star is so that you can set up on the screen some favourites that you might like to get to on the screen, so like your heated seat, that sort of stuff, or some sat nav, that sort of stuff if you wanted to have that there. And the R, believe it or not, is a reverse switch. So there is reverse gear on here, which is quite weird. Now, up the front, big BMW Motorrad label there, giving you really good view onto the screen, and a tiny little strange orange screen just in front of the screen, just protecting that screen a little bit and chucking the air up and over. I'm not sure whether you'd be able to get a bigger screen to protect you and keep you in clean air, but I am getting some air into my face here, but it's not overly dramatic amount of air right into my face or into my helmet, and I'm riding with my helmet open as well. So obviously on this bike it's twist and go, so you get a on the right hand side you've got your normal front brake, on the left hand side you've got your back brake. There's no pedals, just leaving you to just concentrate on the riding, which I think is really nice. It is so smooth. This is really, really smooth, and it's really strange thinking that I'm riding along on an electric bike and there's no noise, of course, other than that whirring. And I'm wondering that how used to hearing or seeing bikes and cars that have no noise, how are we going to get used to it? How quickly are we as humans going to get used to that? Because there's different things that jump up. So if you're crossing the road, you're going to have to really look to see if you can see anything coming, rather than just relying on hearing, or relying on hearing and seeing at the same time. Very strange sort of sensation, to be honest. If you throttle off, instantly the bike is slowing down, and it looks like it might have some sort of regeneration as well into the batteries, which might be quite good, because people will be asking about the range. So the range on this thing is about 60 miles. Now obviously it says there that it's got a range of 72 at the moment, and it all depends on how you ride these things, but to be on the safe side, sort of 60 miles range is kind of where you need to be looking. And this bike is £14,000 in England, so you know, who is going to buy this bike at £14,000 when you can only do 60-70 miles? I'm really not sure, because it's a lot of money to spend on a bike that only does those miles. So perhaps it's for a certain market. So if you're a commuter and you live in a city and you commute from one side of the city to the other and there's nowhere to park a car, this might be right up your street. If you're a delivery person, perhaps it's right up your street. Perhaps if you're only doing like 10-20 miles a day to get to and fro from work, perhaps it's going to be right up your street. Touring, I don't see why you couldn't tour on it, but you'd need to make sure that you had enough charge, and you'd only be able to do 60 or 70 miles, which is very, very limiting when you're on a tour. So perhaps it's not a touring type bike. The wind protection, there is no wind protection really, but you know, we've only been trickling through the town at 30 miles an hour, so we'll get out on a bit of faster road in a little bit and see what it's like. But I'm guessing that all this stuff at the front is just going to chuck the air out. The design of the shape is going to be very good at flicking the air, certainly off your legs. We'll go over storage in a minute. The storage isn't, it's got enough storage for a helmet, but I think I quite like it as a bit of a novelty at the moment for me, riding this, as opposed to it being something that we're going to end up all using. I think there's an argument to say that as bikers we always like to, we like to be able to hear that burble of the engine, to be able to hear what's going on, to feel connected to the bike. Whereas this, do I feel connected to this? I'm not sure I feel connected to it, purely because there's no sound. But it's incredibly fun to ride, I know that much. Now if you are getting one of these bikes, just be wary. If you've got a mobile phone with a data package, I'm not sure how the data shows on the sat-nav. So you download the maps, so you can do that when you're on Wi-Fi, and all the maps come free with the app because you can't use it without the screen when you're riding. So I guess that's how they get around not having to buy the maps. But I certainly didn't have to pay. I didn't create an account with the connected app either. I just skipped that stage and it's still allowing me to use it. I can set up destinations on my phone and they come straight onto here, and in effect the phone is basically screencasting what you're seeing there really. The phone shows a dark symbol of the BMW connected logo, so you know that it's working. But for me, the downside and the reason to check your data plan is just to make sure that if you're using your bike, using a connected app and your phone, just make sure that you've got everything downloaded before you do it, because you know, especially if you're touring abroad with all those data roaming charges coming back and all of that sort of stuff. But I think you'd agree that that screen is exceptional in the view, the look of it, the ease of use. And the ease of use is exactly the same as just using your tog wheel. So you can see that I can zoom in and zoom out, so I can zoom in as far as possible. It's telling me that there's no helmet available for some reason, a bit weird. But if it had a route, it would be the same as any other sat nav, where it would tell you where you were going and give you turn-by-turn instructions. So that's really good. And we're going to get to a little bit of fast road here in a second, so let's get up to 40, and then I'm going to have to hold on. So we're going to go up to the roundabout near a place called, what is it, near to Asda in Penryn, and then we're going to come back and take the bike back. But it is highly flickable, so I'm going to go out into the second lane just to wait for the speed limit to change from 40 to 60, and then I'm just going to give it a handful and see what happens. Look at that. It's almost instant, and that's in dynamic. Almost instant to get up to speed. And it almost feels like I'm having to really hold on to the handlebars in order to ride this bike or to stay seated on it. It's really quite a strange sensation, to be honest. But nevertheless, it's really smooth. I can hear the wind much more going past my helmet than I would do if I was on my bike, because the wind protection isn't the greatest on this. But I can also hear it because I can't hear any sound from an engine, because there isn't an engine. Really flickable. And I'm going to go to the roundabout and then go right round the roundabout, and then we'll head back to BMW. Oh look, there's a Tesla. Us electric vehicles like to be one-on-one on the roads. So what's it like going round the tight corner? So highly flickable. I mean, I'm leaning right out on this bike at the moment. Alright, we're going to get into a 60, here we are. Another scooter rider. How cool is that? Oh, it's sublime to ride. So smooth. Those tiny wheels, you'd never know that they were so small. It's just really lovely to ride. And really strange, you can't hear anything. I would say that's one of the strangest things about this bike. But I tell you what, it's really good fun. Hello and welcome to another RiderCamTV video, and today we are on take 59 because the GoPro wouldn't work. But look at where we are, beautiful sunshine. We're down at Swampole.
Oh no, that's me.
Swampole down in Falmouth, after a morning of hail and snow, would you believe? So,
hail and snow?
I know, it's crazy.
Get away.
But I'm really excited. This is my excited face.
Really?
Because look at this. This is the BMW CE04 Electric Scooter. And I tell you what, all those people that like to go on about horsepower and fly around on their bikes at breakneck speed would probably say, this scooter, what a load of old trash. I don't think you could beat this with a car or a engine motorbike at all. When you put it into dynamic mode and you throttle open, you've got to hold on. The torque on this is amazing. Now obviously we'll put that up on the card because we're not interested in figures. We just know that it goes like poo off a shovel, they say in Cornwall, but they use the S word.
Greased weasel poo.
Greased weasel poo.
There you go.
Well, that's a new one on me. But if you imagine greased weasel poo flying around, it does exactly the same as this. It is immense. The speed is incredible. But have a look at the styling again, Mark. Now, I really like the styling, but
it looks like some Tron.
It does. It looks like something out of Tron. But I like the curves, I like the angles, I like the bit of colour in there. Then you come back to this wheel. And I don't know, it feels a little bit like they've kind of missed out. Why isn't there nice spokes or something that looks nicer? I don't get it.
Gotta be honest, I like that.
You can't work with some people, can you? But let's look at the front first, shall we? So this front is evil. Look at it.
My word.
So we've got LED lights all round, this lovely orange screen, but it looks something different, even from the front. Every angle that you look at...
Look at that screen.
Yeah, every angle that you look at this bike, it's something to turn your head. This is a head-turning bike. There is no doubt about that. So, how did I get on when I was riding it?
I don't know, how'd you get on?
Well, firstly, I was like this, stretched out, trying to hold on. And apparently this is about a 400cc equivalent to, 400cc internal combustion engine, like those old things that make noise. It does about 60 miles to a charge.
Which is less than their old bike used to do, because their old bike used to do 100.
It did. If you have it in eco mode, it will do about 70 miles, but 60 just to be safe, we were told in the showroom. Now I think people that are making these, like BMW, all the cars like Tesla, all this stuff, the one thing that they're missing is the correlation between the range and the price. How much do you think this is, Mark?
Well, GSA is about 22 grand.
Yeah.
I would like to think it was cheaper, but I'm probably way out of the scale. It's probably more expensive.
You can have this bike today for a measly sum of 14,000 English Queen heads.
14,000?
14,000 pounds in the UK.
I'm really surprised, and I genuinely didn't know how much it was going to cost.
Now, the reason I bring that up is because people very often say that the more you spend, the better things are. I don't think that's necessarily the case in lots of stuff that we look at and we ride, but you've got to have some serious money to have this for 60 or 70 miles range. Now, could you tour on it? I could tour on it all day long, but this won't tour all day long. I could sit on it all day long, but then I'd be sat on it while it was charging. If I was working in a city and I had like 10, 15 miles perhaps to commute and nowhere to park a car, this is ideal. But for £14,000, that's a big ask, real big ask. So I'm not sure where that fits or who would buy it. I'm really not sure.
Commuters. It's got to be commuters, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the problem is that I find now with all this electric stuff is the infrastructure in the UK is not built for electric stuff. The other day I was at Michael Wood Services on the M5. They only had 2 chargers and only one was working. There was a queue of 6-7 cars there waiting to charge up. It's ridiculous.
Now go on.
Unless you've got a lead coming out of your office or something like that to charge this up, there's nowhere to charge it.
No.
Unless you've got enough space to get home, battery range to get home.
But having said that, there are good things about this.
I love it.
I love it. The speed is insane. For 60 miles, you can at least hang on and really enjoy it. It's flickable, you can chuck it around bends. Really, really nice. The wind protection, surprisingly, is okay.
Let's look at that screen again.
You know, it's really small and thin. I guess that's more to protect this massive screen that is the same sort of screen that's on RTs, you know, that sort of vehicle now.
That, if you look at it, the screen is bigger than the actual. This screen is bigger than the actual screen itself.
Is it more as an aesthetics type thing?
Well,
I don't know.
think it must take some air over the top of it.
Yeah,
It's a
but
long way away from me anyway.
yeah, it charges up just in here. You get a little charge plug which comes with it, and on the other end is just a 13 amp plug, so that's great, but it does do fast charging. But I'm led to believe that you've got to spend another £850 to have this able to be fast charged. Someone will tell us differently.
What a fast charge time is?
It's like I think it charges it up to 100% in something like an hour and a half or something really, really quickly.
Wow.
It might even be quicker. So there is that advantage. But if you are a commuter and you're taking it home and you're plugging it in, or you're plugging it in the office, that's not going to worry you at all, is it?
Not really.
Then you've got over this side, you have got a little button here and a cubby hole. Now this is the cubby hole that you would leave your phone in. It's not wirelessly chargeable, but you have got a USB there.
Okay.
You know, it is what it is. It's a place to put your phone. I like to have my phone in my pocket because I'll get off the bike and forget it.
Yeah, I would.
You know, I've put it in panniers before. There is no storage for anything other than in here.
Just close it up again and do what you did.
Now that's what you're paying for, isn't it? The 14 grand is having things like this, nice and neat, and it opens on its own. It's not too clattery and bangy. But they say that you can get a helmet in here. So if I take our camera bags out and put them up here, shall I try putting my helmet in?
I don't think yours will fit though, because it's a peak.
So I could ride along with it like that. I mean, that's quite secure, isn't it? That fits really well. So you need a tiny head, but the ability to have it is there. Whether or not, I mean, it won't even go in, will it? No. That helmet. So
well, you've got your camera on the front anyway. But it's not down far enough to go in. But anyway, no. It says you can fit a helmet in it.
And I guess you can, because it is cavernous. I mean, that is quite a big space to put stuff in. But my helmet's too big.
Yeah.
So that's all you get as storage. How much storage do you need? You've got foot pegs for pillions, so you can have a pillion on there. And the seat is so comfy. Now look, you can sit with your legs there, or like I was ending up doing. They were more comfortable right in the middle, so you can move your feet wherever you want. And then you get to things like the wing mirrors. They're exactly the same as the GSA, the XRs, all of BMW's range really now. Really good mirrors, you can see everything, they're in the right place. Switch gear, nothing much to say about it really, because it is exactly the same as every other BMW. So if you're used to those buttons and switches, you have everything on there, because you have got heated grips.
I love it.
And heated seat. Worked in exactly the same way with the Navi knob to put them on.
The Navi knob?
Oh, I don't know what it's called, like a
jockey wheel,
scroll wheel, and it's got 3-stage grip heating, which was burning my hands off actually when we were on the way. And then what have we got for seat heating? That started burning, so you got a 3-stage heated seat as well, which is really, really good.
So if we look at the screen, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
So the screen tells you all the batteries. This is the connected app, miles per hour, all the stuff that I talked about when I was riding it, and the miles. And if I change to mode, it changes the range, and apparently it changes the range because it's in a different mode of bike, therefore it would expect you to ride differently.
You've got eco, rain and road.
And dynamic.
Dynamic?
Yeah, and dynamic, you got to hold on, because if you don't hold on, you're off. But this has got a bit of a treat up its sleeve.
Up its sleeve?
So you've got a star button there, so you can click your star button and it'll take you to one of your favourites if you've got that assigned, but it's got an R button. What do you think the R button does, Mark?
We'll have a guess.
Guess.
Reverse?
Yeah. So let's start it. So you start it in exactly the same way by pressing that start button, and then you see the screen's changed. So on each mode, the screen is exactly the same, and it might be difficult to see, but it's really clear, and it's got regenerative charging because the power will go up. It's like Peter Snow's swingometer as you're riding along. But if I press and hold this, the R button, and gently move that, I've got a reverse.
And that's worked off the throttle, obviously.
Yeah, so you press and hold the R,
right.
You get an R with an arrow on the screen, and then you just literally use the throttle as you would going forward, and it take you backwards.
That is amazing.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's a bit about the screen, and it's keyless ignition as well.
Awesome.
Which is hidden under here, which is very smooth. And then come round this other side, Mark, because this thing down here is the foot brake. Now,
the foot brake?
No, the foot brake, sorry, a side stand.
A side stand, so we're looking at that.
So this is the side stand, but look where it is. It's very futuristic. It looks that it fits the bike.
Like a spike,
but what have I had to scrape every time to put it down there? All of the...
Yeah, you're right.
Which is bizarre. Bizarre that you would do that, but I really don't know. It's got a centre stand as well, just here.
Good,
which a lot of bikes aren't coming out with now.
No.
And then when you... Obviously this is all batteries and all that sort of stuff and motors, but when you look at it, it's a belt drive, which helps it be a lot quieter, less maintenance. Look at that shock.
The shock is... Do you know what? I mean, I love all this covering, the covering on the wheel and things like that. The fact that the wheel is almost totally encased.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good for wet, isn't it?
Well, I suppose I hadn't thought of that. I was just thinking, you know, I don't really like the look of that. Looks like it's come off an old Austin 7.
Looks like it came off one of my bogies when I was a kid.
What, out your nose?
Bogies? No. People know what a bogey is. When you were a kid, you made bogey go-karts.
It's very odd.
Go-karts if you posh.
We're getting into Sheltered by Nightfall. But it is really encased with everything, so you're not going to get crud and mud all over you. LED lights forward and back. I don't think there's much more to say about it other than...
Does the seat lift up?
It's such good fun to ride.
Because you went reaching for it, I thought that'll be funny.
No, because when you look at it underneath, it's all bolted up here.
You can actually see it right
here. So, ooh, see my fingers. So it is bolted onto the frame, so you can't move it. But I tell you what, that is a really comfortable seat. Really comfy.
I mean, that's really smart for a Pillion.
It is, isn't it? But the overall look of it, I love it. I'm not sure, I was saying when I was riding, Mark, that I'm not sure what I feel about the look of the bike. It's very futuristic. It's going to turn heads, which is fine when you're on a bike.
Can I just say that while you were riding along, there were a lot of people stopping and having a look at it.
Really?
When we came through
Falmouth. Well, actually, they were looking at me, not the bike.
No, they weren't.
So it's going to be a head turner. It's going to attract a lot of interest from people like Mark was just saying. Would I have one? If I had money to burn, I would, and if I had a need for it, I would. But I felt very connected with the vehicle, but not very connected in the same way I would be on my GSA or another motorbike with a real engine. And I think sometimes us as bikers, it's going to go this way one day, but I think us bikers like to have that connection with an engine, to hear the sound, to feel the vibrations of the bike. But
we are big fans of scooters, mind.
We are. We love scooters, Bergman, that sort of stuff. Incredible bikes. So if you're in the market for one of these, go down to Ocean BMW, who very kindly let us take it out. I really like it. It doesn't suit what I need, but I tell you what, it's immense riding, and you won't look back if you get one. If it suits your needs, this is the scooter to have. So if you like the video, give us a massive thumbs up. It helps us and it tells YouTube certain things. Hit the subscribe button, and we will see you in the next video on something equally as exciting.